this has been getting a lot of bipartisan opposition. I am the local chapter leader of Strong Towns, Las Vegas, and here is why I come in opposition. Because based on where this movie studios are being planned, on the west side of the valley, when you give tax breaks, that means a lot of the infrastructure. Our organization deals with transportation, land use. This means that these high capacity arterial roads, or stroads is what I call them, are likely going to have to be paid by other taxpayers. So when you think about it, this is why companies have to pay taxes, because they have to pay for the car, pedestrian, bicycle, and transit infrastructure that come along with it. Let's take a look at what's happened previously with similar proposals. When you look at, there's been 3 stadiums that have been built or proposed in the last 10 years. The so-called Tropicana, correct me if I'm wrong, has been paid by the gas taxes, but yet demand surged because of these events. So we believe this is a very regressive system that likely the cost will be put into lower income individuals and small businesses. Let's talk about the quiet part out loud, why these film studios are looking to move here. It's simply because the state of California, the state I was born in, is having horrible policies that are encouraging so many companies and opportunities to move out. And we're very deeply concerned because, again, a lot of these we feel that the media elites are responsible because they supported it and now they want to get out. Let me give you an example. Bill Maher, he talked about how it's so difficult to put a solar panel on his roof. So we believe that we're just concerned that this will create a chain reaction effect. And we do not want that. And we have to learn from why these movie studios and other industries are definitely moving out. We don't want to be some kind of a lifeline. So we support efforts to diversify our economy, but this is not the way to do it. This is just wrapped around with empty promises,
Mr.
nice
Hojjaty,
words.
if you can wrap up, that'd be great.
3 seconds. Thank you so much, and I urge you to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. Let's set the scene. The Nevada film marquee reads Waste Side Story, directed by Schools Over Studios. Rated F, like our education rankings, for fiscal recklessness and misplaced priorities, where Nevada ranks 47th in per pupil funding with the largest class sizes in the nation. Just one day after this body approved a meager $2 increase in per pupil funding, this body is considering handing $1.65 billion in public money to Hollywood. It sounds like a fantasy film, but in Nevada, it's a documentary. Or perhaps it's a silent film. Despite their passion, educators are being ignored. They're pleading with lawmakers to pass the plan, to invest every available dollar in our schools and essential services. But instead, they watch their lawmakers try to funnel money into public dollars to hollow economic development projects like this one. And if it passes, the state of Nevada will lose over $1.3 billion over 15 years. You heard from Guy Hobbs, who's also the chair of the Commission on School Funding. They've provided that roadmap to fully fund our schools. He knows better than anyone that these tax credits don't generate enough revenue for the state and wouldn't help our schools. And in fact, the only mention of the film industry in the plan is related to extending the sales tax to downloading digital movies. But instead of giving that plan the green light and using reserves to meet the $604 million our schools need, it's been shelved for a massive historic subsidy at the worst possible fiscal moment. Nevada education needs the blockbuster budget. Hollywood doesn't need to bankroll its blockbusters with Nevada's budget. You do not solve systemic issues by starving our schools and feeding the rich. So here's the moral of the story. Education is economic development. States with strong public schools attract families, fuel long-term investment, and draw businesses looking for skilled workforce. While our schools are stuck in a tragedy with a financial cliffhanger, the legislature is working hard to ensure Hollywood executives get to walk off with public money and live happily ever after. We say schools over studios because that's the script that should be written. Public funds should serve the public good, not subsidize corporate profits. The credits have not yet rolled on the 83rd session, and this committee has the opportunity to rewrite this ending and put essential services like education at the center of our budget, not on the cutting room floor. Thank you.
I oppose this bill for a number of reasons. First of all, I do believe we should diversify our economy, but all this does is it picks winners and losers. Look, this taxi ride I just had, on my wages, we pay a lot of taxes, okay? And here's the thing. We keep hearing we got to raise more taxes for schools, but yet we're favoritizing others. Our tax structure in Nevada, along with the gaming taxes, is very, very regressive. Here's the thing. The infrastructure, you look at these high-capacity arterial roads, who's going to pay for them? What about all the upgrades to Flamingo and Hualapai and all these other routes? I just came from a business convention, IBS. There was a lot of starter homes. We should give them tax credits to those small businesses who are going to help at least the employees. Here's the thing. Where have these tax credits worked across the country? And we also hear about the fact that people want to move away from California, high taxes, high cost of living. But how do we know we're not going to bring these policies here to Las Vegas, here in Nevada? Think about it. Now, I have a YouTube channel. I make a lot of videos. And I would certainly like to work with the sponsor, but last time I saw the sponsor last month, she was just walking away from me outside of a town hall. Well, that explains everything. But other than that, hey, why pick winners and losers? Why not expand to other similar businesses, at least that are related to the movie industry? But I don't mean to complain, but I did hear some applauses in the support testimony, and I was told once that applauses are not supposed to happen during meetings. So I just want to make sure that things are fair. And regardless of what bills or whatever we have going forward, please represent all of us. Don't pick and choose. Majority of you actually don't do that, and I appreciate that. Some of you have town halls every 2 weeks. You know what I'm talking about. But again, all of our issues have to be addressed. Let me give you an example. I was driving from the airport heading to the Paris, and there's a median, a flex lane in the middle, and it should have been upgraded. It should have concrete barriers. It should have planters. And then some POS was driving in the opposite lane. It was in the wrong lane. He thought it was actually a flex lane. And guess what? I nearly hit him, and I honked at him. And this is the kind of challenges that we have to go through every single day. It's unbelievable, very frustrating. But hey, you know what? We're the ones that keep the state running revenue-wise. My passengers and myself are paying taxes. Drivers, even limo drivers, we make more than teachers do when you include all the tips. But anyway, thank you so much. Sorry about my frustration. It was just such hectic out there. Thank you.
Good evening, Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. At a time when our state budget uncertainty means education funding is increasing by only $2, and when the federal budget crisis threatens hundreds of millions of dollars in cuts to our education program, Carson City is now considering a Hollywood handout. We don't need Hollywood influencing our state any more than it already does. Clearly, we're already living in La La Land. Nearly 2 years ago, we stood here opposing public funds for a stadium voucher to a billionaire baseball owner. Today, we stand here again to oppose public money for a Tinseltown tax break. This sequel is worse than the original. If there's any investment worse than a stadium, it's a handout for film studios. Sadly, education advocates are usually only in this committee to oppose handouts to billionaires and explain why we should keep public money in public services like schools. We must put schools over studios and pass the plan. This doesn't have to be a fantasy film. Unfortunately, the Commission on School Funding's plan has been dismissed by the governor, turning Nevada's public education into a low-budget drama with a cliffhanger every 2 years. Let's talk slashers. I'm not talking Chucky, I'm talking way scarier. An unelected billionaire working for the Department of Gutting Education. Let's see what's playing in this political theater. Title I slashed, IDA slashed, Pell Grants slashed. Scary. Losing hundreds of millions of dollars our students, educators, and parents rely on would further exacerbate countless issues plaguing our public schools. Let's be clear, Nevada education needs the blockbuster budget. Hollywood doesn't need to use Nevada's budget for its blockbusters. The Motion Picture Association isn't here this evening, so I'll provide a rating for the public. AB 238, rated F, requiring billionaire companies to build their own studios without public money. Strong, misguided priorities, including a poor use of public money, while we rank 48th in per pupil funding with the largest class sizes and highest educator vacancies in the country. We can ensure this sequel doesn't get made, though. We can put schools over studios and write our own movie. Coming soon, Pass the Plan, starring you all as the heroes.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Do you mind sharing your demonstrative with our secretary?
I will share the visual aid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Kaylin Cordovani on behalf of New Day Nevada. At a time when critical needs remain unmet and our state budget faces uncertainty, we cannot afford to give away valuable resources, especially tax credits, to massive corporations. Not now and not in the future. We should not pursue programs that have failed in other states, no matter how unique our state is. Imagine if we had a small business incentive program of this size or a scholarship fund to attract the best and brightest to our state. What would that do to our economy? The film industry should invest in Nevada because of our incredible workforce, diverse communities, and the undeniable value our state offers, not simply because we are giving them a large cash handout. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Committee. My name is Robert Munson. I represent the Nevada State Education Association. I am a teacher here in Northern Nevada in the classroom day in and day out. And the Nevada State Education has been the voice of public education in the state of Nevada for over 125 years. We oppose AB 238, which would extend over $1.5 billion in tax giveaways to Hollywood studios in over 15 years. Yesterday, we heard about the $2 budget increase that was proposed by the governor. This is really a joke. It doesn't keep up with inflation. It doesn't keep up with budgets at our schools and our districts. We have called on the governor and the legislature to pass the plan offered by the Commission on School Funding to reach optimal education funding, to bring us to the national average. We're not asking to go all Hollywood and to be at the top of the country. We just want to be at the average, at least, in how we fund our schools. The effects here are real. According to the Economic Forum's December projection, Nevada is estimated to lose $119 million in general fund revenue to tax credits this year alone. That goes up to $143 million next year, assuming that the A's build their stadium. In the out year, it rises to $157 million. Those are funds that otherwise could be going to important services, including our education system. Imagine taking away another $100 million a year. Tax credits and abatements, like the ones we've given to Tesla and to other corporations, have not given off the dividends they've been promising. Fully fund Nevada's public education to the national average, reduce our class sizes from 35 to 40 students per class, which are some of the highest in the nation, and bring this bill to a close by defeating it. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Tess Opferman, that's TESSOPFERMAN, here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby, representing women and families in our state. Tax incentives for the film industry have been presented here today as a way to drive economic growth. Sure, maybe that has worked in other states, but I don't think it has. Tax credits are no different from handing someone cash. We're handing a multi-billion-dollar company a massive Nevada gift certificate so they just don't have to pay the taxes they owe. Meanwhile, when working to build a balanced budget, this means we have to choose not to fund key programs that support Nevada families. Instead of a massive tax break, we could give critical raises to teachers and state employees, help offset the increase in PERS contributions, support childcare programs, create a program for paid family medical leave, support and fund baby bonds, provide universal free lunch to students, support programs that serve victim survivors of domestic violence, fix our roads, fund public safety, and especially key right now due to threats from the federal government, we can help protect Medicaid and fund key programs if they are cut. Passing a balanced budget is always the result of the legislative session, but this session, more than any other session I've worked, is consumed by our focus on the budget. We simply do not have the funding to be able to pass a tax break measure of this size. We all love a good movie, and rich and flashy is true Vegas style. But this year, let's fund Nevada families. We urge you to oppose AB 238 and ask that you not move forward with this problematic tax incentive. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Serena Evans, and I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Due to the uncertainty of federal funding and the fact that domestic and sexual violence services are already chronically and profoundly underfunded in Nevada, we are in opposition to AB 238. Nevada ranks second in the nation for rates of domestic violence and fifth for rates of rape per capita. I believe that it is no coincidence that Nevada is also in the minority of states that does not provide any general budget funding for domestic and sexual violence prevention and intervention programming. How can we as a state even entertain a conversation around millions in tax credits when we cannot even appropriately fund life-saving services for our most vulnerable and impacted Nevadans with our current budget? Even more so, how can we consider a tax credit that is this large when there are looming changes in federal funding that we all anxiously brace for? Victims rely on life-saving programs that are currently funded through the state budget, like SNAP, Medicaid, housing assistance, and public education. These programs are already underfunded. How will they be impacted with changes in the state budget? Additionally, we have a substantial public health crisis on our hands with the astronomical rates of domestic and sexual violence in Nevada as is. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the abuse, harm, and harassment that the entertainment industry is constantly and publicly called out for. Nevada can't afford to see an increase in violence. We believe there is a future where Nevada does not rank in the top states for these heinous crimes, but the reality of this dream is that we need proper investments and financial support from our state to achieve this. If we keep handing out tax credits, we will never have the proper funding to sustain this, and harm will continue and increase. We welcome new business in Nevada, and we hope to see increased economic development. We firmly believe that any business coming to or operating in Nevada should be committed to the health, safety, and overall success of our community. This means paying their fair share in taxes. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Brian Wallace. I'm the Vice President of the Nevada State Education Association, which has been representing and being the voice of all educators in the state of Nevada for 125 years, and we oppose AB 238. The Commission on School Funding has taken a professional and methodical approach to their mission. They have not recommended a film tax credit or any other enticement of industry to improve the funding of our schools. That's likely because tax credits just don't generate the net revenue. This is particularly the case for film tax credits. Study after study shows that film tax credits, whether in existing industry or to lure studios or productions to a new location, cost more than they actually bring in. In California, the Legislative Analyst Office found that California had made 65 cents for every dollar spent on the film tax credits. An audit conducted for New York State's Department of Taxation and Finance found that film tax incentives only produced 31 cents in direct and indirect revenue for every dollar spent. Meanwhile, Georgia, mentioned several times this evening, has built a significant film industry with the lure of tax credits. However, they are only generating 19 cents of revenue, 19 for every dollar spent per the Georgia State University Fiscal Research Center. Sadly, there has been a fundamental contradiction in the actions of Nevada leaders when it comes to properly funding public education and other vital state services, as mentioned. While nearly every elected official claims to prioritize education, there's a competing record of corporate giveaways from Tesla to the Raiders to the A's and now to Hollywood billionaires that cost the state over $1 billion, which costs our students. Immediately after the last session, the governor convened a special session to ensure another billionaire, John Fisher of the A's, would receive another $380 million in public money that could have easily gone to every single student within this state instead of just a measly $2 as mentioned for this current biennium. In response, NSCA launched Schools Over Stadiums. While we haven't yet stopped those subsidies in the streets or in the courts, we have succeeded in generating a ridiculous amount of coverage, turning the tide of public opinion. In an Emerson College poll of likely Las Vegas voters in 2024, 52% opposed the use of public money for the construction of a baseball stadium. Only 32% showed any type of support. That's 20 points underwater. Now with Schools Over Studios, NSCA is committed to continuing our efforts to make sure Nevada's priorities align with the people and our students and our schools and our communities. We urge you in the strongest way possible to reject AB 238 and meanwhile hope that the Revenue Committee will give full consideration to revenue proposals that have been put forth by the Commission of School Funding. Please pass the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in Carson City wishing to give opposition this evening? With that, we will go to Las Vegas. And when you are ready, if we want to start with the gentleman in the white polo shirt, feel free to begin by pressing your mic and speaking. And remember to say your name clearly for the record.
Yes, my name is Ed Euling, and I've lived in Nevada since 1943. Growing up here in Southern Nevada in a poor environment, it was literally a railroad town at that time of 10,000 people. I observed how people did their businesses and paid for it themselves. What a difference that is with today's hearing, where the richest people in the state and in the country come and tell you that, tell us that they're going to do all these wonderful things for us. It's all snake oil. They're not going to do these things for us. They're going to ask, they're saying, we're going to do all these wonderful things. All you have to do is pay us $1.5 billion. And you're supposed to believe that. Unfortunately, the legislature has been a believer of this sort of snake oil. You put out a business, 10,000 small business people here in Clark County who were hosting visitors coming to the city and handed their income over to the casinos. The state has totally changed since I grew up here in the 40s and 50s, where people paid for their own, they did their own businesses. No, now the rich people come and ask for the poor people to give them money. There's something terribly wrong with this approach. There are other ways of doing things. One obvious way is increase the gaming tax. Here in Nevada, they only pay 6.75%. In all the rest of the world, these casinos pay 50%, 40%, 30%. 5 times at the least of what they pay here in the state of Nevada. If they want to get their $2.5 billion, $1.5 billion, they can easily get it from the wealthy people, not from the taxpayers, as you're being asked to force this on us, to pay $1.5 billion to the richest people in the state. No.
Dear members of the committee, my name is Wiz Rizard. I'm the Deputy State Director with Americans for Prosperity. And on behalf of thousands of our activists, hard workers who cannot be here because they're probably cooking dinner or tucking their kids to bed, getting ready for school the next day, and the business owners, whether they're small or large, who cannot be here today because they're running their businesses without tax credits, we'd like to urge you to oppose Assembly Bill 238. AFB strives to create an economy that works for all, empowering people to earn success and realize their potential. As such, AFP supports neutral and impartial tax policy. This includes tax reforms that reduce burdens on Nevadans and Nevada businesses without picking winners and losers or favoring special interests in the tax code. AB 238 is not neutral or impartial or an impartial tax policy. In fact, it's far from it. The tax credits would only benefit film and TV productions at the expense of every other Nevada industry. Second, the bill would only benefit film and TV productions that could commit to the spending, hiring, filming, and other requirements outlined in the bill. At the expense of who? The smaller or the startup production companies on the film projects. And third, AB 238 would only benefit workers and businesses in the Las Vegas area. As Assemblymember P.K. O'Neill outlined, where is this for Northern Nevada or the rural Nevadas and the people who are the heartbeat of Nevada? You see, these tax credits can only be obtained if the production centers are around Summerlin Production Studios project. This is not a Nevada film tax credit. This is truly a special interest film tax credit, which serve a very small group of folks. And as American for Prosperity, we raise the voices of all Nevadans and all businesses. Moreover, the film tax credits do not help state or local economies. A 2018 study found that states with film tax credit programs average a return on investment of just 27 cents per dollar. A study from New Mexico found that the state's film tax credit generates just 14 cents of economic growth to every $1 spent, while a study in Maryland found that it only gave them 10 cents for every dollar that they spent. And look, we support the film tax industry. We support the individuals and the talent that helps thrive, who helps this industry thrive. We're willing to propose the removal of a Nevada film tax credit to ensure that we work on regulatory parameters that lead to these type of fiscal impacts where tax credits have to be pursued. We want to support things like AB 120, a REINS Act, or even a regulatory sandbox proposal where new innovative ideas can actually come into the state with their dime in ensuring that they support all businesses and local talent without the help of government picking winners and losers. We appreciate the work of the bill sponsor, but we do think that there's better solutions that have always played a key role in shaping Nevada to be a premier business-friendly state across the country. And it wasn't done through tax credit. It was done through removing regulatory barriers that prevent. Thank you. It was done through regulatory barriers removed that allowed innovations like Howard Hughes to come in and be an entrepreneur. So we urge you to vote against AB 238, and we thank you for your time, Chair and members.
My name's John Sarpalis, and I'm president of Nevada Policy Research Institute. We're talking about $110 million per year in transferable tax credits. Transferable tax credits. Credits that can be sold to other corporations. That's why it spells out it could be used for gaming or gaming licenses and other taxes in this state. And the reality is these will probably be sold to multiple gaming companies and insurance companies for about 85 to 90 cents on a dollar. So these will be coming back to be collected. $110 million a year starting in 2028-29. That comes right off the top of the budget. Money that we do not have to solve our other problems. And then we listened earlier to Mr. Guy Hobbs, the economic consultant for the corporations, and we're going to get 20 cents back to the state on a dollar put in. On $165 billion spent over 15 years, we should get back about $335 million. Why don't we do one of these deals every session and we'll be absolutely bankrupt in 10 years? You can't spend what you're not going to get back. This is just, I understand we need jobs. I understand it would be wonderful to have a movie industry here. Let them build it themselves. This is not economically sustainable for the taxpayers. We have lots of other problems. And then as was mentioned by a lot of people in the pro side, that now artificial intelligence is here. Well, are we building a studio that's about to become obsolete? What's it going to take to do a movie when artificial intelligence could probably do all this in one computer in one office? So let's think ahead. Let's think about true growth industries, not industries that are in transition. Let's think about how we can do this. One of the reasons this doesn't pay is we don't have a personal income tax. That's a good thing. That attracts businesses here. Let's keep it that way. But let's keep our money for our problems, our schools, our homeless. How about just basic infrastructure that are a function of the state? We hope you'll just remember the taxpayer here and remember the solvency of the state. If we have a downturn, this puts us in a bad, bad position. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name is Rinaldo Barrera. I am the owner of Extreme Lighting and Grip here in Las Vegas. I've been in business for 19 years, renting motion picture lighting and grip equipment and trucks. I've also been a 728 electrician in Hollywood and got my days and my card after I did the movie Casino. I was invited to go to Hollywood to work. knowing how things work in Hollywood, knowing how things work here, I'd like to ask the gentleman from Sony and Warner Brothers, what guarantees can you give the local businesses here on how you are going to conduct business with the local businesses? It's been the track record of Sony and Warner Brothers and basically all the major studios in Hollywood. Whereas when they come into town, they bring everything in, all the trucks, all the equipment, and 90% of their crew. What guarantees can you provide for a local business as well as the local studio electricians on how many people they're going to use for a project? And how can you guarantee me the ability to work with the majors coming in, major studios, Sony and Warner Brothers? Can you guys speak to that for me, please? Are they in the room? No. Okay.
Sir, I apologize.
So,
When we're doing testimony in opposition, it's
I'm in opposition.
Okay,
I'm
it's a
in total
rhetorical question.
opposition to
Okay,
this.
just want to make sure you weren't waiting for me to answer. Thank you.
No. I'm in opposition because of these issues. And I'd like somebody from their side or you guys to decide how are you going to protect local businesses from these studios coming into town. I mean, there's got to be some kind of structure to protect us.
Thank you, sir. Like, you're just giving testimony, so I assume these questions right now are just out loud. Like, I'm not having people come up to respond. I just want to make sure.
All right, then.
Okay.
I'm opposed to this for these reasons. You okay? I'm opposed to this bill AB 238 for the reasons I outlined just now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess that's it then, huh? Nobody's responding to anything. I don't know. You guys support Nevada business?
Thank you so much, sir. We're listening to everyone's opposition, but it's not like a time where I'm having the presenters come back up. We're just taking testimony in opposition at this time. So thank you.
Okay, just so you guys know, about 2 years ago, a motion picture came up and I ended up getting 2 lawyers and suing these people in New Mexico to get paid. So there's no true regulatory agency here that protects Nevada business when it comes to film projects. Just so you know.